good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Mando Mondays Roundup here, December 7th. I'm your host, Rebecca Mosley, co-founder of laughingplace.com, and with me, as always, is our Star Wars editorial content director, Mike Celestino. Hi, Mike. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm excited to talk about the Mandalorian episode that hit this past Friday, episode 14, The Tragedy.
Me too.
But first, we are going to do what we always do, and that is share with you the bounty of riches that Shop Disney has bestowed upon us today. Beginning with a couple of, they had like a waffle maker and a rock jewelry ring featuring the armor. We've seen these items previously, I think, directly from the manufacturer, but now you can get them on Shop Disney. So if you're looking for ways to bump up your shopping cart in order to hit those free shipping numbers, keep those in mind. Don't forget to go check and see if something new has finally made its way to Shop Disney, like maybe this the child doggy shirt. It's so cute.
Okay?
Go ahead. Know what?
No, I don't know. I didn't know that it was even a dog shirt not until you
Didn't
pointed
it?
it out. I just copy
Yeah.
pasted. So
Okay. Yeah. It's a spirit jersey for your pet.
I gotcha.
And then they have this adorable plush robe with the applique on the pocket. I was telling Mike, I wish this little froggy in the pocket was one of those terry cloth washcloths for the little
Right.
for your little ones. That'd be fun. But it's cute anyway, poking out of the pocket. And then Cakeworthy has a all over print featuring the child standing up as well as in his pram.
I was
His
going to
hover
ask
pram.
you, this is the 7th week of Mando Mondays, but we've seen a lot of merchandise over these past 7 weeks.
Yes,
But
we have.
what percentage of it do you think is the child? Like, if you took away everything that was the child related, how much would be left?
Oh, yeah. I don't know that I have thought about it. By the way, since you didn't know it's a dog jersey, my husband thinks you must be a cat guy. So
I like both, but I have cats just because it's easier.
the child does clearly dominate the offerings, but
Yeah.
I'm making my way down to the item that I thought that the items that particularly caught my eye, and that was the Cakeworthy long sleeved plaid shirt with the child on the back, and then the one with the that features the phrase "This is the way" on the back. On the front, they have this adorable embroidery with the child kind of poking out of the pocket, and then the mythosaur on the lapel. So, do you more frequently refer to our little green friend as the child, or have you switched to Grogu now?
I think I've been doing Grogu more now, but I think I just did. I think because all the merch still says the child,
Oh,
so
but wait, it doesn't. I
okay.
found this afternoon, finally,
Okay.
just before we went on air, finally, we've got some merchandise that features Grogu.
Yeah.
But here we are with some Ahsoka Tano t-shirts as well. So yeah, the usual suspects are out and about in the merchandise. Mike also stumbled upon the Cobb Vanth. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a line from that episode, I think, when he meets him in the cantina. So now you can get it on a T-shirt. It's one of those customizable ones on Disney Shop Disney.
Yeah, they've been featuring more and more of that of the Zazzle merchandise that allows you to customize. They've had a few mugs appear where you can change the interior. So like the outside will have an image on a white background, but then the inside could be red or blue or whatever choice you decide on. They've also got this Star Wars kind of child. To me, this is a folk art design. That's what this strikes me as, with Grogu peering over the ST.
Sure.
So, yeah. Let's hop on over and take a peek at the Hasbro, some of the Hasbro figures that are out.
Well, these have come out previously, but they're just now available on Shop Disney for the first time. The Armorer and the Incinerator Trooper from the Mandalorian in the Black series.
And then over from our friends at Hasbro, they have actually released a lot of new items, and I'm pulling that up right now. The one that really caught my eye is at the top of the page, and of course, it's going to take me a moment to get it to show up here.
Yeah, this one
Um,
caught my eye too. And I'm not the kind of person who usually buys this kind of stuff, but I really, really hope they send me this to review because I want to play with it real bad. It's so cool looking.
doesn't
Um,
that look amazing?
it is a Nerf pulse rifle that you see him use often in the show, and it's the colors aren't right. Obviously, they got to for a toy, they got to make them like brighter colors, but you could paint it probably if you wanted to, or if you had talent, which I don't. Um, but
It
I
comes
think
with
it's
silver Nerf.
yeah. There's a video out there somewhere that was in the file they sent me. I should have included it in my post, but there's a video that shows you how it works. Actually, like you can load the cartridges in the top of the gun the way he does on the show, which is awesome. And then it has the pump action or whatever. It looks pretty cool. I
It
kind of
says it
want it.
has show realistic sounds
Yeah.
and an
Oh,
illuminated
and the
scope.
and the scope. Yeah.
That was like
Uh,
the idea of the illuminated scope is what really kind of set me over the top with it. I was like, "Are you kidding? That sounds amazing!"
I will
So,
not shoot my cats with that, but I will shoot near them with
oh,
it.
the poor cat.
I hope it's accurate.
So yeah, so there you go. I was trying to find that illuminated scope. So yeah, I have to admit, when I saw that pop up, it's a
Yeah.
119, and it'll have 10 foam darts. It's the blaster and instructions, and it measures 50.25 inches long. I mean, that's a nice big rifle
Yeah.
to run
That's
around. I know pulse blaster, but to me, it's a rifle run around the house
that's
with.
that's more than 4 feet long, right? Yeah. So it's pretty. That's a pretty cool toy. I know, like I always feel guilty to promote like guns or whatever, but I think it's so awesome. So I can't. I don't know. It's a real conflict there, but
I
that
I'm super
this is the gun he uses to like vaporize the Jawas. So I don't know. Uh, I feel a little guilty about that too, but
No, it's all good. It's
okay.
it's all okay. It's fine. Nerf is still wildly popular with my son and his crew. So I'm excited for the arrival of that one. And then they have these kind of chunky sized figures, so you can get this is the Star Wars mission fleet, and it comes with
Yeah.
5 character figures.
Yeah, so they had sent me one of the other Mission Fleet play sets that I reviewed in that big box of toys. And this is one of the new ones that they just announced today that has IG-11, Stormtrooper, and Cara Dune, in addition to the 2 main characters.
Yep. And the
And
stormtrooper and a pram, but like I say,
yeah.
these aren't as detailed as the those Black series or the
Oh yeah,
Kenner or
these
those
are
Kenner
about like
ones.
this tall.
Mm-hmm. So they're a little bit chunkier.
Yeah.
The weapons themselves are less fragile to my eye.
Yeah,
So
for younger kids, probably. I think
yeah.
it's supposed to be like ages 6 to 8 or something like that. This is Kuil riding the Blurg, which is pretty cool to have in that series, and has a fireable missile.
Too fun. Those are my son is really fond. He got the Lego. It's it's a Hoth scene, and so
Yeah,
you build your Lego set, and then it has the projectiles, and so he and his friends, they like kind of set up their sides, and then they battle, and they see who can knock
yeah,
over the most. So lots of fun with the projectiles.
that's cool. And
So
then this is
yeah,
the speeder bike with the scout trooper
it
in the
even has
mission
a
fleet.
bag, so you
Yep.
can like pretend you're punching Baby Yoda.
Right.
As we continue our violent streak with today's toy roundup. Ooh.
Funko Pop vinyl Moff Gideon with the dark saber. And then
Ooh.
there's also a another version of the Mandalorian with the jetpack. That's a GameStop exclusive. I feel like we had learned about that before, but maybe this is slightly different. I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm kind of clueless about the Funko stuff.
I see the words glows in the dark.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Okay, maybe that's the difference then. I don't know. But I like the Moff Gideon one. That's neat. And
Yep,
then her universe.
with the mythosaur emblazoned upon a long sleeve splatter painted t-shirt. So you can get those
Yeah.
over at her universe. So that's what Mike grabbed for us this morning. But then, as always, at 1 o'clock, a couple of new items hit. And so before we are able to do our recap, I am going to share that with Mike. So this is always fun for me because Mike doesn't know what I'm about to show him.
I don't.
Let me pull up the correct window, and I am not finding it at the moment.
That's fine.
Let's see.
While you're doing that, I'll point out that I have redecorated my background here with a variety of larger scale toys that I thought
Very
would be
cool.
more interesting to look at than what I had previously. So
I like it, Mike. Looks good. So I'm going to hit you up first with this collage with Moff Gideon.
nice.
You've got Grogu, Moff Gideon, the Dark Troopers, right?
Mhm.
The Dark Troopers, all on this T-shirt available over at Amazon.
Yeah, that's cool. I think we were always looking for more episode specific type stuff, so they have been putting that out, especially on the shirts.
And then you've got
Oh,
Grogu.
that's going to segue right into the opening scene that we're going to talk about.
A little bit more. Once
Yeah.
again, featuring the discovered name
Oh
for
wow,
our
this
friend.
is spoilers for the final scene.
I know, so amazing. And then a collage of the characters that we've met over the course of the Mandalorian's journeys.
Season 2 characters mostly, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Cara Dune, Cobb Vanth, Ahsoka Tano,
Boba Fett in
Bo-Katan.
casual gear.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. And then baby Yoda Grogu
Oh, with the butterflies.
with the butterflies, with
That's
use
fun.
the force and script beneath him. And these are all at Amazon. And as always, if you click through our link to Amazon, we receive a small referral fee. So we appreciate that. And then I
That's
thought
neat.
this design was very fascinating with the split.
This seems to imply that
split
the
lip.
helmet is the exact same size as his skull. Which doesn't make sense to me.
Be a little less comfortable. You don't want that
Right.
helmet just like directly like attached to your head. So yeah, so I grabbed just a few items that I found that they, like I say, right around 1 o'clock over at Mando Mondays, they always showcase more items specifically geared to the latest episode that appeared. And speaking of the latest episode, that's what we're here for. Really, we're here to talk about episode 14, The Tragedy.
Yeah. Season 2, episode 6, chapter 14 overall. The title is The Tragedy. But before we learned the title, there was an opening scene. I do want to say that this episode was directed by Robert Rodriguez, who famously made Desperado, El Mariachi, Sin City, From Dusk Till Dawn, a bunch of other films. He's made some kids' movies.
I was going to say, the what I've seen is Spy Kids.
Spy Kids, yeah. Shark Boy and Lava Girl. He's got a new kids movie coming out about superheroes that I think sees the return of some of those characters. I've never been a huge Robert Rodriguez fan. I like Sin City quite a bit. His other movies, I can kind of take him or leave him. But I think he did a good job. It's a very action-heavy episode, although it is very, very short. I'm pretty sure it's up there with the shortest episode so far of The Mandalorian at like 33 minutes or something like that. When I saw that, I was like, kind of bummed because I feel like we've gotten some short ones this season, and you just always want more content. So that was disappointing to me, but I did like the episode overall. But we should talk about the opening scene when they pretty much just arrive at the planet Tython right away, and I think you and I were both surprised that they got there so quickly.
Yes, I was very very surprised that they got there right away, and and in that opening before the title card where we see the interaction between um the Mandalorian and Grogu. I thought it was very sweet, kind of building on what we saw
Yeah,
last week. So yeah,
yeah, he's
nice
still kind of
nice way
like
to start.
testing out the use of his name and getting that reaction out of him. He's still like Mando seems to get a kick out of that when Grogu responds to his name being called, and then he's trying to get him to use the Force again to pull that knob toward him, which he does successfully. And we get another use of the phrase "dank ferric," the the all-purpose Star Wars swear. I guess I don't know what we're
I loved
calling it.
I loved how Grogu dropped the orb when that phrase was uttered. He drops the orb, and then he's like, no, it's okay. It's good. It's all good. That wasn't about you.
I'm trying to work this into my vocabulary. Dank ferric. It takes practice, I think, to remember it and then to remember to use it. But I think it earns you some cred if you can drop it into casual conversation. So um, we'll see how
it'll
that
be
goes.
it'll be fun to see how often that ends up popping up in conversations now.
I also like the line when he refers to Ahsoka as the nice lady. He says the nice lady said you had training before, so I just think that's interesting. That's how he kind of remember. I mean, when talking to a child, I guess that's something that you would
Has
say.
there been any kind of backstory that's developed yet regarding Dank Farrik other than it's just fun to say? So you kind of
Not that I know of. I think my history with it is we noticed it earlier in the season. Somebody said it, and we were like, "Dank ferric, what is that?" And then we like went back, and they had said it earlier, and we didn't notice it. And then like it's been repeated a couple more times since then. So I think this is a new Star Wars swear that they have come up with. And we've also been rewatching the sci-fi uh, original series Farscape, which aired like 20 years ago, and I loved when it was on. And I'm showing my wife Farscape now, and they have a lot of made up like space swears in that show as well.
I
And
was
they
just
did they
about
did
to
it before Battlestar Galactica. So
I was just about to ask you because in the Disney universe you have the Miga Nalaquista from Stitch. So it's like I was going to ask you kind of that pantheon of fictional
yeah,
swearing. Where's Dank Ferrick falling? I'm still I'm more fond of frack than I am of but it's just but that one's so simplistic, right? It's such a clear derivative.
right.
Dank Ferrick has a more uh, elaborate creative element to it.
Yeah, I love it. Now, where's the shirt that says Dank Ferric on it?
I know,
I love
right? Right?
that. Technically, I could wear that walking around Disneyland.
Oh
Nobody's
yeah.
gonna call
Nope.
me out on
Nope.
that.
Nobody's gonna call you out on that one.
All right, then we got the title, which as soon as we saw that, we knew we were in for some, uh, I don't know, heartbreak. I guess is the word.
I
What were your
agree.
thoughts when you saw this?
Okay, in all honesty, I got distracted at the moment that the title card popped up, so
Oh,
I did not know the name of the episode until the
okay.
end. So,
So you
so,
didn't
very,
know you didn't
so
know what was
I wasn't
coming,
awaiting all the, and it's funny because it's like there's not just one, right? Because
yes,
this says the tragedy,
right.
but yet for us there was more than one.
So yeah, we're on Tython right away pretty much, and we find those seeing stone right away. And it's surrounded by these kind of almost Stonehenge kind of rocks, a rock formation that have been carefully placed there to they're kind of leaning in toward the seeing stone. And he says he can't land the ship, so they have to land a little further away, and then they jet pack up We get that image there of him carrying Grogu,
I
jetpacking up
loved
to the
I
stone.
loved this image of him with Grogu nestled right up against him, kind of soaring, and then the way the ears were kind of. I enjoyed the moment very much.
Yeah, I did also want to point out that the Seeing Stone has an ancient text around it that we have seen before in the Star Wars universe, though it's not Arabesh, and I don't think it has like a one-to-one cipher translation the way you can do Arabesh, as far as I know. I could be wrong about that, but this is one of the other alphabets that we've seen used in Star Wars that's not Arabesh. And then the thing that we saw coming up here that I didn't know about the history of that you told me about is the blue butterflies. Blue butterflies. You want to talk about that?
Well, I remembered them from a short that was recently featured in the springtime from Star Wars Kids. And it was a stylized short feature where they were all like rolling objects. So you can look for Ben Solo butterflies, Star Wars Kids, and you can find that short. And they seem to be somewhat sentient in that they're helpful. There's they assist Ben Solo in this moment with his dad when he's like a little boy kind of getting into all kinds of mischief, and the blue butterflies play a part in that. But they've also, I learned, also been featured in an old I shouldn't say old, in a previous comic, one of
Yeah.
the Darth Vader series.
Yeah, I saw
So
that too.
they've been around here and there. So I'll be interested to see kind of what comes of them, what we learn of them. We've talked before about how Filoni and crew frequently have kind of these animal guide,
Hmm.
animal support, as it were. We saw the Convor that we associate with Ahsoka in last week.
Right.
So the Loth cats, we've seen those. So yeah,
Yeah, and the wolves and Loth wolves or
that's
whatever,
it. The Loth wolves.
and
So
then this made me think of Gandalf for some reason when he's like imprisoned on the tower in the second Lord of the Rings, and he like catches that moth and like whispers at it. And you ever see the Lord of the Rings? No,
nope,
okay,
I haven't caught up with that one yet. I've given it
okay,
a try a couple of times, but nope, it didn't connect.
fair enough. So Mando's kind of looking around for. He says there must be controls or something somewhere because he's placed Grogu on the rock on the Seeing Stone and nothing really happens. So he's kind of using his Batman vision to look around for a control or something he can activate. And then
Yeah.
he looks up in the sky and here's a ship approaching, and it's none other than the Slave One.
Now that was a moment
Yeah,
when that ship came coming around the bend, and you got to watch it descend. Not only did you get to see it arrive, but then we got to watch it kind of come and pivot and land on this beautiful planet. Oh yeah, no, it was very cool. And I was thinking of my many friends in my youth who were enormous Boba Fett fans and adored their Slave One. And whenever I got to play with it, I had to be incredibly careful because of how much they adored it.
yeah.
And yeah, no, I was just, yeah, it was a very great moment.
Yeah, I thought it was cool too. It would have gotten a bigger response out of me if I hadn't been spoiled about it the day before on Twitter. But I got to learn. I don't know. I see the way I do this now is I wake up Friday morning and I don't even look at my phone at all because I know people have watched it at midnight the night before or 3 a.m. on the East Coast or whatever. So I just ignore my phone entirely and I go to Disney Plus and I turn on the streaming service and I like cover the screen so I don't even see the image, the one still image that they've chosen to represent the episode. And I don't want to know the title or anything, and then I maneuver my way down and I press play. So I figure I'm relatively safe at that point. But now like things are coming out days before. I don't know how to avoid it anymore. It's very frustrating to me and disappointing. I would love for that to have been a cool reveal. Obviously, we knew Boba Fett was already in the season, so chances are we would see the Slave One, I guess. But I mean, we didn't know. I didn't know the status of the Slave One, and my question really is like, where was the Slave One? Like, did he have it parked in Mos Eisley, or like, where was he keeping it stored? And we're gonna get into like more questions I have about Boba Fett as we go along here, but that's one of them. Like, okay, so he got why is bad guy Boba Fett? So
Yeah,
yeah, we could
I was
talk
going
that.
to wait until you finished your
Yeah,
point there, but yeah, no, my husband is wondering why is
yeah.
he's a casual. Why
Well,
is
the answer is that he had cool armor. That was the answer for a long time. But I think, well, let's talk about that a little bit later because I think
okay?
we're gonna get into the reasons why he's loved now, I guess. But okay, so he sees the slave one approaching, and then he turns around to grab Grogu off the Seeing Stone to spring into action or whatever, and he's now in a trance, surrounded by this force field. I guess this is where the text shows up. Was the text already there before it got like highlighted in the glowing light?
I was trying to remember that when you were talking about it because I feel like I'm not sure. I can't remember
Yeah,
if it was
I don't
kind of
remember
more
now either.
shadowed and then it became prominent, or
Yeah,
if it was not until this moment that it illuminated and became visual.
yeah. So he tries to run over and grab Grogu off the stone, and the force field like deflects him basically for the first of several attempts. And we'll point those out as we go along here. He keeps going back to try to get Grogu to no avail. It doesn't work.
Okay.
So then,
Before
what's
you go
that?
on, though, I have to point
Yeah,
out the little position of this
right.
adorable Grogu,
Yeah.
the meditation pose,
Hmm.
just it was there was a sweetness to it that I
Yeah,
a piece to his persona in this moment.
definitely. And I'm sure we'll see some merch of that too. Just him with the meditation hands there. And it's important to note that this basically means that the signal has been sent out, or whatever information he was supposed to get, or Ahsoka said some Jedi might observe him doing this, or it might show up on somebody's radar through the Force if he's placed on this stone. So that might be what's happening here. But Mando runs over to the ledge and he's looking down where this new ship, the Slave One, has parked, and he sees a figure walking out, the same figure we saw at the end of the premiere episode this year, and it's Boba Fett, basically. And he runs down. Does he fly back down the hill at this point?
No, that he runs down the
Runs
hill.
down. Yeah.
He kind of ducks behind a boulder for a bit,
Oh yeah. And
and
he
then they
and they
and then
exchange
they
a
end
couple
up.
blasts, right?
Yes.
And then they come face to face, and well, not face to face because Mando's still behind his helmet, obviously, but uh, I think Mando kind of thinks that he's a Jedi at first, which is it made me wonder like, okay, there are more casual fans watching this show who might also think that Boba Fett is a Jedi, right? Like
Hmm.
cuz he's got the hood on and everything. So
Yes.
um
Yes.
he asks him, "Are you a Jedi or are you after the child?" And of course the answer is neither, basically. And Boba Fett says, "I'm here for the armor," and naturally Mando assumes that he means his armor, the Beskar armor that Mando is wearing. And Boba Fett corrects him and says, "No, I mean the armor that you took from Cobb Vanth." Now, okay, now I think we should talk about this question I have about Boba Fett's recent history is why in that 5-year period after Return of the Jedi before this season of The Mandalorian takes place, why didn't Boba Fett just go and take his armor back from Cobb Vanth? It's clear that he is capable of kicking some butt, as we see later on. What do you think? Do you think he's just there's too many people in that town, or
That's
like?
what that my thought was. My thought was that it didn't suit his purpose in that moment.
Okay,
In that there had been the renegades that this marshal had overturned and kind of restored order, and I don't know that it served it served Boba Fett's purpose necessarily to take that on. But yeah, that is one thing where I'm hopeful that we'll get a little bit more backstory on why things
Yeah.
kind of came together, because it would seem rather what coincidental that he wasn't able to
Right.
retrieve his armor until it had transferred hands, right? I mean, there is that
Right.
possibility, like he was in some sort of, I don't know, some sort of recovery state or something, where he wasn't quite at full capacity or whatnot. But we'll find out. But I think I'm more inclined to just think it suited his purpose more to keep an eye on it, to observe it, to know where it was, and to take it when the moment was right. But then this other guy shows up. Well, I don't know what that guy's doing, so I want to make sure I get my hands on it before it gets too far out of my sight.
Right. And should we address Doobie's question a little bit more now about the popularity of Boba Fett now that he is more prominent in the episode, or um,
I don't know. I feel like it might fit in even better in a little
okay,
while.
okay. We get the line about him being a simple man making his way through the galaxy, which is of course a callback to Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, where Jango Fett says a very similar line, though not the exact same wording. I think he says universe instead of galaxy in that one,
Oh,
but
good catch.
definitely a reference to that.
I am not as savvy to catch that as you. That is excellent. I will now have to go remind myself of the previous context.
Now, Din Djarin asks Boba Fett if he's a Mandalorian, if he's taken the creed, and Fett basically says he doesn't swear allegiance to anyone, which is in keeping with his character, I thought. And of course, Djarin wants the armor to go to a Mandalorian because he believes in all these rules, and he refused to give it back to him. And Boba Fett says, I've got another person here helping me, basically, and points to a ridge above them where we see the character Fennec Shand, who's working as a sniper, and she's an assassin that we last saw in season 1 of The Mandalorian, played by Ming Na Wen of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fame and other stuff. And basically, Fett tells Mando to put down. They've agreed to talk it out, basically, and they're going to put down their weapons, and Mando has to put down his jetpack, which seemed to me to be a mistake, and it costs him later on.
I found it interesting the way that they utilized the sniper to be on the child rather than on the Mandalorian.
Yeah,
It was another insight into, for me, the character, the understanding that Boba Fett has of his prey, for lack of a better word, that it would be wiser to target the child because that would be a greater focus than his own safety.
sure. Even though we don't really know. I mean, I think Fennec Shand had a conversation with that other bounty hunter dude whose name is escaping me right now in season 1 about Mando and the child and how they were more valuable than she was as far as like bounties go and stuff. So I guess she might have told Boba Fett about that, which makes sense as they were traveling together and stuff. We also get the reveal here that after Boba Fett found Fennec Shand in the desert when she had been left for dead, he had basically helped her recover and installed some cybernetic components into her stomach. I don't know what's
Yeah,
going on there. She's a
yeah,
cyborg now,
exactly. Yeah,
basically.
repairs her midsection injuries with robotic and cybernetic type elements. Yep, she's now
Yeah.
metal.
Is that where she got shot? I guess that's where she got shot in that
That's my
episode last year.
that was my memory.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so that makes sense. And then they said that they'll guarantee the safety of the child in exchange for the armor. This is the deal that they want to make with Mando, and they have a conversation about the origins of the armor. And Boba Fett says that it was given to him by his father, Jango. Um, what did I write here? It says, that Django got the armor from quote your forebears, meaning earlier generations of Mandalorians, I guess.
I was trying to find a supporting image for your discussion, Mike, but I'm
That's
having
okay.
no luck. But I
But
thought it was very interesting. It was what did like displayed. Wait, no, this is just a discussion. Yes,
yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
why.
They don't have the armor
Okay,
yet. Yeah.
that's right.
Um, but they're interrupted again now by an Imperial transport showing up and landing right next to the Razor Crest there. Grogu is still in the trance, and Mando tries to. Uh, now, see, this part doesn't make sense to me. Now,
Okay,
thinking about it, because we're reviewing it again,
okay.
I've seen it twice now, this episode, and he got back up there pretty quick, right? Like, he was just talking to Boba Fett and Fennec Shan down there on the bottom of the hill, and he ran right back up here to grab Grogu, and he gets repelled by the force field again. Then later on, they take so long to get to the top when the dark troopers are coming.
Well, okay. With I'll defend by saying wasn't he like battling and battling and battling before that run up here. This time he was merely having a
I
discussion,
guess I
so
guess
he
so.
didn't have been quite as spent.
Sure. Okay. He moves at the speed of plot, as they say in the Lucasfilm story group when they're talking about hyperspace. But um, I guess that's okay. Anyway, he can't get him again. This is try two of three. He tries to grab him off the stone. It started to feel a little repetitive to me. But a bunch of stormtroopers get out of the transport, and Boba Fett and Fennec Shan start picking them off with their blasters. And then they decide to split up and flank them in the
Yes.
terrain there. This location looks to me an awful lot like somewhere out in the Southern California desert. Likely shot in late last year when the we actually had a bunch of rain early last year, and we had a lot of nice greenery around Southern California, which is why it looks greener here than you would think.
Do
So
you think this might be the famed Vasquez Rocks? Is it green up there at all?
I haven't been there in a while,
Yeah.
in probably a decade, but it could be near there. If it is, they certainly didn't show Vasquez Rock,
Hmm.
but it might be near there for sure. It could be in that area,
But
but
I
it did.
agree. But I agree with you. It definitely for me felt
Yeah,
like Southern California.
I mean, we know that they shoot the show in Southern California. They weren't going to Europe or anything or Tunisia for the Mandalorian, so in all likelihood, they did shoot this in Southern California, and it did look like they were actually out on location rather than in the volume for a lot of this. So they probably did take a couple days and go out to shoot this action scene in the desert somewhere near where I am right now, which is pretty cool. Um, and let's see what happened next. Oh, the gaffy stick. All right, so let's start addressing this. This episode was notable to me for a couple of reasons because not only do we get to see a live action Boba Fett kicking butt for the first time ever in the character's 40-year history of people, look at how many Boba Fetts are behind me here. I got this 12-inch Boba Fett doll. I got a action figure right here. I bought this recently, the holiday special Boba Fett doll. Um, and that's just a few of the many, many Boba Fett representations in my apartment here. I'm looking up at the Slave One. I was going to grab it, but it's precariously perched up there. So the question of like why Boba Fett is so popular is mostly just because he looked cool, and he never actually like demonstrated being capable of anything much. Because when he does fight Luke Skywalker and Han Solo and Lando Calrissian on the skiff in Return of the Jedi, they do away with him pretty quickly. He just gets knocked into the Sarlacc pit and eaten, and everybody's like, "Well, what's the big deal about Boba Fett? He's barely around in Empire. He has 5 minutes of screen time, maybe a little bit more than that. But he looks cool." And then now, finally, after 40 years, we got to see him actually be like a capable fighter and like beyond capable because they really came up with a lot of very very creative uses of Boba Fett, starting here in this scene where he's got the Tusken Raider gaffy stick or Gatarifi. Uh, they go by both names, I guess. But he takes out a bunch of stormtroopers with the gaffy stick in this scene. That's brutal. I would describe it as brutal. Look at that shattered stormtrooper helmet.
The use of the shattered stormtrooper helmet in this film, well,
Yeah.
the use of the shattered stormtrooper helmets throughout this sequence was very impressive to me because there was just a level of violence to it, but without being what I
Bloody.
don't not vulgar, but not
Yeah.
really gory, but yet there was this crunch and like
Yes.
pieces flying off. It was it was quite powerfully done.
Probably
And
pushing the. I would imagine they're pushing the boundaries of what they've been allowed to get away with on Disney Plus, I would think. And Star Wars has historically been writing that line, I think, of being violent without being gory, like you said. So I think this is in line with that, but probably close to the edge of what you would expect to get away with in Star Wars. But I think it worked, and I think we needed it because we have gone so long without really seeing what Boba Fett is capable of. And you get the dual reveal of what the gaffy stick is capable of, even though it's not used here by the native Tusken Raiders who created that weapon or whatever. But it is cool to see Boba Fett using it for two reasons. And the stormtroopers are panicking and they get out a couple different weapons. They have the E-Web blaster, which is that one that's on the tripod, and then they have these like mortars that they're firing out into the hills where Boba Fett and Fennec Shand are attacking them from. Um, and then we get the whole sequence with the boulder. Do you want to talk about that? Because you pointed out something about that to me.
Um, well, it was funny to me in that last week, you were discussing, as far as Lucasfilm went, you were wishing that we would have more Indiana Jones content, and so the fact that at one point in this battle we find Fennec behind this boulder that she then is able to push and use in her defense, and now we have this enormous boulder chasing the stormtrooper down the mountain. I was like, Mike speaks it, and it comes to be.
Yeah, unlike Indiana Jones, the stormtrooper is not able to outrun the boulder. He gets crushed, and it also knocks out the E-Web blaster.
I also enjoyed during the sequence finding out what kind of fighter that the Ming-Na character Fennec is. I mean,
Yeah,
we see her outrun these, Gatling gun style, right? Gatling gun, yeah. Style blast, as she runs along the top of this mountainous area.
yeah,
There's another moment where she leaps off a cliff, and as she's kind of falling backwards, she takes out people, but then as she lands, she rolls and instantly shoots someone else. I mean, it was the level of marksmanship and
right.
everything between her and then Boba Fett's ability with the gaffy stick. It was a great fight sequence, and it was
Oh
in
yeah,
like, this real domain. So often, our Star Wars battles happen. The environment plays such a role in the fight itself. Crate. I think of Crate with the red level versus the white level. I
right.
think of Hoth with the snow and everything. And it's like here, this is just it's just earthy looking,
Yeah,
right? And so it allowed it to shine. The only other time I could really think of something quite as familiar terrestrially was in Rogue One, right, when you had the battle on the beach.
right. And I am glad that they have now dedicated this whole action scene to not only Boba Fett but Fennec Shand because I think a lot of people were disappointed last year when I think Ming-Na Wen had announced at D23 Expo that she was going to be in The Mandalorian, and people were expecting a bit more than the amount of screen time that she got last year, and then her character was killed or apparently killed right away. So it's cool that she survived, and then we do get to see what she's capable of, like you're saying. And it was a very, very cool action scene. I think this is the strength that Robert Rodriguez did bring to the episode, is that he's got some experience shooting action and choreographing action and stuff like that. So that carried over pretty well to me.
And
Um,
then as it begins to wind down, we had some amazing moments of strength from Boba Fett.
yeah, this is a shot impaling the stormtrooper on the ground with the other end of the gaffy stick. Another act of violence, although it's mostly off screen there. And then he sees the Razor Crest parked not far away, and gets his idea to go in and recover his armor. This is around the same time we saw Fennec Shand, yeah, doing that backwards jump off the rock and taking out more troopers. And then yet another ship arrives, another Imperial transport carrying more Mandalorians. From the cliff, Mando sees the stormtroopers getting out of the second transport and tries for the third time to retrieve Grogu from the Seeing Stone, and once again gets repelled by that force field. So he's nothing if not tenacious in his attempt to save the child here. But he just gives up now, and he says, "I'll be back soon. I'm going to hold off the troops. You keep doing what you're doing up here." And as soon as he starts running back down the hill, the force field disappears, of course. So I guess that's the punchline to all this. All those three attempts is, as soon as he finally gives up, it ends, and the child is now defenseless and just starts to fall asleep right away. What's next?
We find him down the hill, back to back with Fennec,
Yep.
and
And he
they
uses
are.
the
Mhm.
he uses the whistling birds on the stormtroopers. I think it's the third time we've seen him use this weapon in the series. The first being in episode 3 against the stormtroopers in the client's office building there on Navarro, and then the second one was in the season premiere this year in the arena against the thugs there, and then now back against the stormtroopers again on, what's the planet's name again? Tython, yeah. But yeah,
And then, just as you think, it seems like maybe it won't work out well, because like they just keep
right.
coming and coming,
Yeah, they're kind
and
of
you
getting
have this.
cornered by the troopers here, and an explosive drops on the ground, and in flies Boba Fett back in his armor, although looking a bit different than we're used to seeing him when he wears that armor. He's got a black kind of long sleeve undershirt underneath instead of the,
Is it a
like
gray? It's like a gray,
like an
right?
off white, yeah,
Yeah, I always think of it as being a gray.
right.
Yeah. No, it was cool. It
And
was
then Doobie
very,
and I
very
made the
cool.
same joke here that we probably shouldn't repeat, nor
I
should I name
I would
the
agree.
episode after it.
I'd agree.
Okay.
Um, I'm, I'm gonna use my better judgment,
Okay.
but
Uh,
and he comes and he takes care of business, man. Everybody's falling, right? Just boom, boom, boom. Stormtroopers just dropping everywhere, and then they run off. Oh no, we can't handle this guy. He's too
yeah.
much.
Well, I think I also want to point out that it's cool that we get to see Boba Fett using like pretty much everything in his arsenal in this scene, even those like knee rockets or whatever those
Oh,
were.
that's right.
Which
Yeah,
you
that's so true.
see them like,
Like we've made them wait this long. We're gonna
yeah.
we're gonna unleash everything.
I
So
thought that was super cool. And then the ships take off, and he uses his final weapon, which we have seen. We saw Cobb Vanth use it earlier in the season, but that rocket firing jetpack shoots the topmost transport, and then that collapses into the other one and takes it out. And then you get a punchline there too, which is that Mando says nice shot, and then Boba Fett says I was aiming for the other one, which is a funny joke, but why? Why was he aiming for the other one? It seems like that taking out the top one was a pretty good strategy. So why wasn't he aiming for that one? I don't understand
Maybe it
that.
was closer, so
Yeah, or
therefore.
maybe Boba Fett was making a joke,
Oh,
and
could
I
be
don't know.
that too. That too.
Yeah,
And now we have a new trio, right? We've
yeah,
seen Mando as part of various trios, right, over the course or groups over the course of
yeah.
his journey, right? So here we go yet again. Mando finds teammates for his journey.
True enough, and that brings us to the most shocking moment in the entire episode. The one that, really genuinely surprised me when it happened. Made me go like, uh, if
I
you're
still
listening to this, you don't know what I just did. I just put my hands on my head.
I still can't believe they did it. I can't believe
Yeah,
we saw the Razor Crest vanquished, it
right.
vaporized in this enormous fireball.
So this is another case of kind of be careful what you wish for, I think, because I kept saying that I hope that they start ending the episodes a little differently, where it's not just like Mando and Baby Yoda in
Flying
the
off.
Razor Crest flying off to the next planet, and well, that'll never happen again now.
Aw.
So, um, the Razor Crest has been completely destroyed, like to the point where it's just ashes on the ground. And another funny thing about that was that I'm doing the Lego Star Wars Advent calendar this year, and the day after this episode was released, the gift in the Advent calendar was the Razor Crest, a little
Oh.
mini Lego Razor Crest. I was like, oh,
Oh.
that's kind of adding insult to injury. But yeah, I was thinking about like it's pretty daring to destroy the main ship on this show after almost 2 seasons of getting used to it and people coming to love it, and you've got the Lego, there's a much larger Lego set that I own that I really love of the Razor Crest. And then you've also got the HasLab Hasbro 3 3/4 inch scale Razor Crest that just finished its like crowdfunding campaign a few weeks ago, and that's going to be coming out next year. But I don't know at that point, like Mando's going to have to get, yeah, they can. Well, the
You
the
think they
joke,
can still fix it?
yeah, the joke that I made, because I keep comparing it to the dude's car in The Big Lebowski, and it was like, dude, they finally killed your car. It's the same kind of deal where at the end of that movie, the car just gets set on fire after being repeatedly damaged throughout the course of the film. And this is just like that. I have to, if I ever have a chance to ask John Favreau or Dave Filoni a question about this series, it's going to be, was the Razor Crest intended to be the dude's car from The Big Lebowski? Were you drawing a parallel there at all? Because it really reminded me of that. But I'm still excited to get the toy, the HasLab Razor Crest next year. I think it's still cool. It's still a memorable design, and I think it saw a lot of screen time. Over the course of how many chapters is it? 16 that it existed. So it's still it being destroyed, I think, doesn't make the concept of the Razor Crest any more or any less valuable to fans. That's my final thought on that.
I'm very interested to see what the future holds for a ship of that silhouette. So, because I'm still destroyed emotionally by the lack of that silhouette. So I'm holding out hope that silhouette will still be able to occur. It won't necessarily, like the Razor Crest 2. It's some sort
Right.
of class of ship, and so we
Right.
have like a different one, but yet it'll visually be reminiscent. So that silhouette will still happen
Yeah.
riding off into the sunset.
Well, I remember in the comics in the 90s, Boba Fett was using a ship called the Slave 2,
Mm-hmm.
but it didn't look like the Slave 1. I forget what it looked like, but it was a different design. So I don't know. We'll see. I mean, they got to get Mando has to get another ship, right? So
Yeah.
who knows what it'll look like or what it'll be called. So at this
Yeah,
point,
back on the top of the rock.
yeah, and Moff Gideon kind of sees his opportunity to send down the Dark Troopers, and this gave me shades of Iron Man. I don't know. Did you think about Iron Man with these guys?
Yes, definitely. A little bit of is it Ultron? Is that
Yeah,
the other
when Ultron,
kind of
yeah, takes control of all the other Iron Man suits. Yeah, for sure. And even they have those like repulsors on their feet that helps them fly, and then like as they're approaching the ground, they like flip around and they use the repulsors to slow their descent.
remind me a little bit of Mecha Godzilla too.
Sure.
One of those as well. So
so so
it felt very just the way the framing was and the pacing for me
yeah,
felt very much Japan invader from space kind of
right.
experience.
Um, so there's four Dark Troopers that get sent down to the Seeing Stone to retrieve Grogu for Moff Gideon, and Mando doesn't have his jetpack, so I don't understand. Like, this is another thing that I don't get about this scene, and I think it's one of the few complaints I have about the episode. But wouldn't it have been faster of him to like go and grab the jetpack and fly up rather than because it takes him forever, so long, much longer than it had taken him before to run up this hill to get Grogu. Like they keep cutting back. You know, they keep cutting to the Dark Troopers, and then they cut to Grogu, and then they cut to Mando and Fennec Shan, and they're running up the hill, and it just keeps going, and you keep thinking they're about to crest the top of the hill, but they like keep finding more hill to run up. So, of course, they don't get there in time, and the Dark Troopers take Grogu and fly up in the sky. This part I thought was interesting that it's different than we see in the concept art at the end because the concept art shows Grogu crying,
Yeah,
which
like
might have been
hysterically
unbearably
crying.
sad.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that because I was shocked when the show's over and you're processing everything, and then they move along to the credits and you have that concept art, and I was trying to see if I could pull it up, but
Yeah,
I don't have it right here. But
but
they oh, it's just his face is all just like a child who you see screaming for a parent, is the imagery, and just heart wrenching. I can't even envision like that in the actual moment. It was hard enough
right.
to have that happening, but yeah. Thomas also commenting on the Razor Crest. I agree. I'm shocked that the Razor Crest didn't go. Isn't here. Very marketable. It's very interesting move. But
I
no,
mean,
this one.
it's not as shocking as if they had blown up Grogu. So, um,
You scare me now when you speak stuff in. Like, I'm worried now what's gonna happen.
I mean,
But
after week after week of all this Baby Yoda merchandise, like what if they had just blown him up, and the show
but it
just
was
became about something else? But yeah, the Razor Crest is cool too. Yeah, instead, Grogu just kind of he's just kind of nonplussed by having been kidnapped by these dark troopers, which is kind of how he reacts to
it
everything. So that kind of makes a little more sense, I guess. I don't know.
it it reminds me of scenes in movies where like the dog gets taken to the pound, where the
Right.
kids can't keep the dog anymore, and so the person has to come and take it away. No, Dad, but we love you know the pooch, and no. So yeah, and it's very disturbing. I was very saddened by this, but
Yeah. Boba
hold out
Fett
hope.
hops back in the Slave One and starts springing into action. And his plan is to shoot down the Dark Troopers, but Mando and Fennec Shan tell him not to. That they don't want to see the child hurt, which makes sense. You don't want to kill Grogu in taking out these robots. So uh, that was a good call. He says he's going to do a loose follow and follow them to wherever they're going. And this is another part of this episode that doesn't quite make sense to me because he gets up to above the clouds there and sees this capital ship, and he's just like shocked, and he goes like, they're back, the Empire's back. Which to me, I would have thought that when I fought dozens of stormtroopers that kept coming at me on the ground. Like, why wasn't that his thought earlier? And then also, this ship, Moff Gideon's ship, is not an Imperial ship. It's a Republic ship. As far as I know, as far as people have been saying, this is a ship that we've seen in the Clone Wars that was used by the Republic before it evolved into the Empire. So I don't know why that seeing this ship would make you think that the Empire is back all of a sudden. I don't know. I didn't get that line. What did you think about that?
Might it be that they weren't supposed to be out on this edge, like that they had been on the outer rim, that their presence had not been out there, so it wasn't so much that the Empire like exists. Like,
right.
That's not what back means. It means they're here. They aren't over there. They're over here.
I guess so, but why not have that reaction earlier with all the troopers then?
Well, no, I was wondering if maybe because the fact that you have troopers out there, well, that's still indicative of like central headquarters kind of still being like elsewhere.
Right. Yeah, I
but
guess
then
so.
like more of the spread, it's like one of those. That was what I was wondering. Was if it was more of a kind of, in essence, back in power, back in like actually mattering in my life, that kind of scenario. But you're asking the casual here, so I'm just doing the best I can guessing on that one.
Well, also, like, Fennec Shan has a line about how the Outer Rim is under the jurisdiction of the New Republic, which I don't know if they had come out and outwardly said that yet. Although we have seen, obviously, the two X-Wing pilots who are like the space police going around pulling people over. So I guess the implication was that it was now under New Republic jurisdiction. Although, like, historically, the Outer Rim is like the Wild West, basically, So I guess the New Republic is kind of trying and failing to keep control of the Outer Rim at this point. So I don't know. Boba Fett is disturbed, I guess, by the Empire being back, even though he sometimes worked for them. I don't know.
Well, what was funny to me was that his ship was right there, and there's this enormous ship right there. Why didn't they just shoot him out of the sky? Because he's following them, and they've just been fighting him. So that was where my kind of went.
Yeah.
I wasn't even really focused on the part that you're mentioning. I was more taken aback by the fact that he didn't even get. It didn't even seem like they paid him any attention. But
I guess they're just worried about getting the child aboard or Grogu aboard, and they didn't care too much about who happened to be observing it. Back on the ground, Mando is kind of sifting through the ashes of the Razor Crest, and he finds two items. He finds the knob, the famous knob that Grogu loves so much. I'm sure that's going to come into play again later. He puts it away. And you asked me a couple weeks ago if we were going to see the knob again, if the knob was still going to be important. And I said I didn't think so, but clearly I was immediately wrong about that. And then the spear, the Beskar spear, which he got last week, that he got on the planet with Ahsoka. What was that planet called? So many planets.
Did it start with a C?
Yeah, something like that. I can't remember right now. But I think those are the two things that he needs to rescue from the ruins of the Razor Crest, kind of his quest items that need to go back in his inventory.
Corvus. The planet was Corvus.
Okay. And then Boba Fett shows Mando the chain code on his armor that has his name, and it shows that Jango Fett was a foundling, in fact, which is conflicting with some information that we got in the Clone Wars animated series. But I guess people are making sense of it now and saying that the guy who said that, who I think was the Chancellor of Mandalore or something, was just, he was like discounting
Hmm.
foundlings as not really being Mandalorians. But obviously, Din Djarin is also a foundling, so he sees that connection now with Jango Fett. Even though Boba Fett hasn't taken the creed or whatever, I guess he's still worthy of owning the armor just because his dad was technically a Mandalorian. I don't know, but I guess the rules are loosening in our Mandalorian's head, in that he's just willing to let Boba Fett keep the armor at this point. Oh, and he mentions that Jango Fett fought in the Mandalorian Civil War, which I
Yes.
think was another thing from Legends that they've now brought into canon.
I appreciated the sequence in that it was nice to see what you're describing, the kind of the formality of it. But yet, as you point out, there also seems to be a demonstration of a flexibility, I guess, in
Yeah.
some ways. So I'm interested to see how his introduction to Boba Fett as a Mandalorian will shape his path, how this influence will shape, because he's now had these two influences come into his life who are Mandalorian in appearance, but yet do not maintain the way that he is on.
Right. And now Cobb Vanth is thinking like, "Oh man, I'm not a Mandalorian either. How come I can't keep the armor?" But um so Boba Fett and Fennec Shand basically vow to help Mando retrieve Grogu because that was their deal. They would keep the child safe in exchange for the armor. So they're part of the team now. I guess we're gonna see a team up between Din Djarin, Boba Fett, Fennec Shand, and then they go back to Navarro to to enlist Cara Dune in her help in tracking down another member of the crew, potential member of the crew. And this I was super excited to see because I told you last week that I wanted this character to come back. And his name is Mayfeld, and he's played by Bill Burr, the comedian. So that's cool. We also find out what that medallion was that we saw last week. It's a basically
I
a
I called it right.
yeah,
I said that scene reminds me of when they kind of throw a badge
yeah,
on the table. New sheriff in town. And I was like, oh,
yeah.
okay,
So
so
it's
this
a
is the
badge
marshal
basically.
badge.
So he
Yeah,
says that Cara Dune has become a marshal of the New Republic, which I that was not clear to me at the end of 2 weeks ago. I guess that was that episode where that happened. So now they've made it clear she's working for the New Republic. Um,
and she's able to help him access the prisoner database
yeah,
through her new role, and they scan through a lot of different images, and some people have been freeze framing those. So if you look on Twitter, you can find various
yeah,
grabs of the different prisoners that are there. I haven't seen anything significant come out of the screen grabs yet. Some
yeah. That
fun stuff, but nothing like whoa.
right. I think that was one of those things where I kind of didn't recognize anybody right away, so I didn't feel the need to like pour through it and try to translate all that Arabesh.
Right?
Um, but it is neat that they did actually spell things, and there was little. I mean, these are now all new like off-screen characters introduced in the prison database there or whatever. So I guess that's fun, although it's not anybody recognizable, right? Like nobody found anyone
Not
that had
not
appeared
not
before.
that I've seen so far, but I
Yeah.
envision, books in the future, right? Tales of the prisoners. So you can have like the
Oh my
various
gosh.
backstories of each of
Yeah.
these individuals and how they ended up, because their crimes are listed
Mhm.
there. So like in one, it was a grand theft of some sort of,
Right.
was it grand theft speeder or something like that. So
I
yeah.
like that she says Mayfeld. Oh, we got Mayfeld's first name also in this episode. Miggs, Migs. So it's Miggs Mayfeld. And she says he's serving 50 years in the Carthon chop fields, which I don't believe has ever been mentioned before, but I just like whatever that is, whatever that turns out to be. I like the sound of it. It made me think of like a outer space like chain gang kind of thing, you know. Um, I'm sure we'll probably see that next week because they got to start putting together this crew to go and spring Baby Yoda, Grogu from Moff Gideon. Um, and I think my interpretation of this scene is that he's also asking Cara Dune to join on this mission as well. And she says that there are rules that I need to follow now because she's working for the New Republic. And Mando replies with, they have the kid, which that's the end of the scene, but the implication is like, this information is what's going to get her to come aboard. Was that what you
Yeah,
thought?
and that's what'll turn. Yeah, no, I agree that it was kind of it was one of those things where you got the impression, if not for that, she would have
Yeah.
been staying with the new responsibilities that she had taken on. And I'm still not 100% convinced she'll be along for the journey. So I'm interested to see if she does actually sign up, or if she now is maybe more willing to offer support from her position. Because even this information is a bit, she has to kind of turn and look away now, right? Because if he goes to break this, she would obviously know that he was the one responsible for having broken this prisoner out, let's say, if that's where this path goes. So I'm unsure kind of how invested she'll be in it moving forward, but we'll see.
Let me cut to.
Are you inclined to believe that she's signing up now? We're gonna see her
Yeah,
aboard
I
whatever
think
ship they take.
I think we'll see more of Cara Dune this season. That would be my guess.
Do you anticipate them all taking this next step in this adventure that we'll find them aboard the Slave One?
I don't. That was one of my other questions about Boba Fett is how many people can fit in the Slave One, because previously it's been like a one man ship. Like we've seen Boba Fett fits in the cockpit, and then in the bottom you can put the carbonite block, But
Right?
I don't know that we've ever seen anyone else, at least in live action, or I don't know. Is it in the cartoons? I don't know. I guess he would. I guess in the prequels you would have to be able to fit young Boba Fett in addition to Jango Fett in there.
Mm-hmm.
But
But we now know that there were 3 people aboard, right?
at least 3 humans can fit in there.
We presume. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I don't know how many people they can all cram in there to go on this adventure. It's going to be like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure with all the historical figures.
Yep.
So we cut back to Gideon's capital ship traveling
Careening
through hyperspace.
Yeah, I liked that. I liked that visual. It was very off-putting because it starts with him at the enormous view screen looking out, the front of the ship. And then as he's walking towards you with that visual of the hyper, I found it very like odd.
That's cool looking. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he walks down the hall and enters into the prison cell where they're keeping Grogu. And Grogu is tossing around the stormtroopers like they're rag dolls. Very, very interesting for reasons that we've talked about before, because Grogu has shown some dark side tendencies previously. He's force choked Cara Dune. He's force choked somebody else. I don't know. He's been stealing things. He uses the force for his own benefit, basically, which is a dark side tendency. And here he's fighting off. I mean, they are villains.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not using, the powers that we usually think of as light side powers. And somebody pointed out that, yes, Luke Skywalker uses the Force choke in Return of the Jedi as well. So I guess it could go either way. But I do think that they are pointing us in that direction, that he is riding that line of morality between the light and the dark.
Yes.
I thought it was weird that these stormtroopers don't have blaster rifles. Did you notice that?
Oh, I didn't. I hadn't noticed that yeah, you're right. They didn't. I wonder if they were concerned that he would disarm them.
Oh, that could very well be why. It made me think of the El Capitan Theater, because they always, for the Star Wars movies, they would have like the stormtroopers, but in the wake of, horrific events of years past, they don't want any kind of representation of a gun on the characters in a movie theater. So they didn't give the stormtroopers in the El Capitan the blaster rifle. So they would just like march down the aisle with no blaster, which looks just so weird to me. A stormtrooper without the blaster rifle, you don't ever really see that. So that's why this made me think of that. But
or maybe I'm wrong, and maybe he'd already disarmed them. Maybe the blasters are off somewhere else.
I guess so, but I looked around, like I didn't see them on the floor or anything. But I like your theory that they didn't want him to disarm them and like use the blasters against them, which I guess it's entirely a possibility since he's like messing with them so much. He's like
Yeah.
he throws one into the other's legs and like knocks him down, and then he is choking one while he's, I don't know, doing something to the other one.
I thought the way that they handled this was a nice balance, though, because there's a bit of it's like a little slapstick in a way,
Yeah,
the way that they were being tossed about. It didn't feel like vicious. It felt more defensive. It felt
okay,
less aggressive, just because of the way it was staged.
sure.
Um,
Then Gideon enters the room and he kind of lets him continue for a few moments. He's kind of amused by what's happening here, and he's certainly pleased that Grogu has this kind of power. And then he has a comment where he talks about how his power makes him oh so sleepy, which I thought was funny. Like he is talking to him like a child in the way that a lot of the other characters do. But I don't know. I love Giancarlo Esposito so much. I've loved him. I mean, he's so great in the Breaking Bad universe, and he's been in a ton of movies even before that, and he's worked with Jon Favreau before in The Jungle Book and stuff. But what a terrific actor, and he's capable. The reason why he makes such a good bad guy is because he can bring that kind of charm to a character like this. And thinking back to Gustavo Fring on Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, like that character is so much more serious than Moff Gideon on the Mandalorian, which is weird because this guy is in the Empire or in the Imperial Remnant, and you think of the Empire as being like so like self serious and everything, but this is like a step back from how serious Gus Fring took himself on Breaking Bad. So I just thought that's funny about this character of John Carlos. But what terrific casting and a great way for us to enjoy watching a villain kind of chew the scenery again in Star Wars.
I enjoy the way he toys with his captives as the captor.
Yeah. Then he takes out the dark saber, and
This
we see
moment.
it for the second time in The Mandalorian. And he says, "Have you ever seen one of these from years past or whatever?" And then Grogu almost reaches out to touch the blade, which would not be good. It would, you know, disfigure his hand at the very least, if not chop it off entirely.
Oh, see, I see this as force reach, right?
Yeah, but
As
even so, he's reaching out for that blade. Even if he were to draw that blade toward him with the Force, it
true,
wouldn't be good for him.
true.
Um, but before he makes contact with it, Gideon says, "You're not ready to play with such things. You're liable to put an eye out." Which I mean, it might be a reference to A Christmas Story. I don't know.
I also know that because of a, a scene, I want to say, was it? I can't remember if it's a. I know that that's a meme that's gone around a bit too, as far as with Luke and the lightsaber. So, but Benji also goes back to A Christmas Story with you
Yeah.
can't have a saber, you will take an eye out.
uh, and then he says you could use a nice long sleep, and a stormtrooper fires a stun blast at him. If you recall back from a very early scene in the original Star Wars film when they stun Princess Leia, this is the same effect, those like blue rings that come out of the blaster. So they've set the blaster rifle on stun and they knock out Grogu, and they put these little tiny binders on him, the little tiny handcuffs. The same kind of handcuffs that they used on Chewbacca, but smaller.
It's
Very
not
cute,
right.
but very scary at the same time. Yes.
And it though, just not right. There's two hands. He's so little. Oh,
So then Gideon says they need to send a message to Dr. Pershing, who is the character we've seen a few times before, the kind of Nazi doctor kind of guy who was working with Werner Herzog's character in season one. And he says, "We've got our donor." And this is a reference back to a couple episodes ago where we saw that like cloning facility and everything. So we know that Grogu is the donor. We don't know exactly what they're trying to do. There have been hints and theories about what the plan is. How many sizes do the well? You got a lot of different species in that galaxy. You got to be ready for every possibility.
That's quite a storage unit to hold all those varying sizes of binders.
And the last shot of the episode is Grogu sleeping there on the bench in the binders, having been stunned by the stun blast, and then we cut to credits, and that was it. Directed by Robert Rodriguez. A good one. A lot of stuff happened. Probably in my lower half of favorite episodes of the season. It didn't make me want to rewatch it as many times as some of the previous ones. Like I had been telling you, like I'm rewatching them 3 times before the reviews. This one I've only seen twice now, so I think that's an indicator to how much I enjoy watching it. It's mostly action, which usually doesn't really do it for me. I think I'm more of an information guy than an action guy. The action was good. It's really well choreographed and entertaining and fun. But I think I prefer absorbing information than just seeing people fight each other, I guess.
Yes, I also did not watch as much. I did not rewatch this one as many times as I had other ones. I rewatched it more out of necessity for the chat than
Yes.
for than because I was wanting to absorb more of it. But I think it's because of what you were saying with the it being much more action oriented, which is great adrenaline rush. But for me, it doesn't have that same kind of repeat experience. But I was going to pull up that image that we were talking about during the earlier portion of the podcast with the Baby Yoda with Grogu kind of flying off, and how he just looked so upset and disturbed, and it's just so different than the way it ended up being in the episode itself. Yeah. I mean, you can see that the tears flowing down his face, and the legs. It seems like we might have got to see like legs almost with like a kicking, like he was wrestling back, like he was fighting back. Whereas in the actual sequence in the episode, we ended up with kind of a resigned and mournful look from Baby Yoda. And these are part of the Mando download that you can find over at StarWars.com. They offer the concept art that is featured at the end of the episode, along with numerous screen images from the episode of the week. That's over at Mando Mondays.
And I feel like this art is a great segue to put in another plug for my favorite book of the year for the holiday season. The Art of Star Wars: The Mandalorian by Phil Stozak, with a foreword by Doug Chang. Great book. Here's the back cover with Moff Gideon and the troopers and the TIE fighter.
Mike did a review of the book over here on Laughing Place, so be sure and read all about it in Mike's article. But I cannot tell you the passion that Mike has for this book. He just, as we were talking about it, it was very, very clear how much joy this book brought to Mike, and in part it's because of the fact that it's more than just art, right, Mike?
It is. It's beyond being a collection of the concept art. It's also a backstory of the development of the show and a history of the relationship between Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, how they met each other, how they first started working together, their time doing the Clone Wars and stuff, and then how the idea first came about for The Mandalorian. A lot of this stuff I had not heard before, even if you've seen all the Disney Gallery episodes of The Mandalorian on Disney Plus, that behind-the-scenes docuseries. This stuff in this book I had not heard before, so they did not get into the whole history of the show on that. So if you want to know all the behind-the-scenes stuff, this is the place to go. And I just wanted to show you like one more piece of concept art that we didn't see the other day. Got kind of a glare there, but this
No,
is
it's coming across okay.
entering the cantina, I think.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah,
Yeah, there you can see the silhouette
yeah.
in the door.
So they got a
Uh,
lot of like 2-page spreads like that of just the art, and then you've got pages that are more like development and design of certain characters and alien species. These are the Trandoshan characters that attack him in the canyon in the second episode of season 1. So this covers all 8 episodes of season 1,
and
and
it's
then
heavy with text. Heavy with text.
it's got a lot of text and a lot of images, and it's last week. Well, when was that? Earlier this week, early or late last week when I checked, it was $25 on Amazon, which is $15 cheaper than the $40 retail price. But the coolest thing that I didn't point out to you, I don't think the other day, is that it's got a little Roman numeral 1 here on the
Oh, very nice.
spine, which implies that they'll do one of these for every season, which is going to be fantastic. Collect them all. I will.
And this book will be in stock on December 16th, so it will, if you're a Prime member, it can arrive before the holidays. So definitely be sure to check out his review for further information about it. And if you've been enjoying the series, sounds like this is a must-have for your shelf. I've already seen a couple of online articles kind of sprung out of the date of the information that is available in this book. Ben says, "What's Mike think of it?" Yeah, he's a big fan. Yeah, if you missed it Thursday, he was hugging it. Yeah, I was gonna say he was quite enamored with his Art of the Mandalorian book, and I am jealous that I will have to wait another couple of weeks before it can be in my grubby little hands. But thanks again for joining us here on Mando Monday's Roundup. I hope you enjoyed our recap of this week's episode, as well as the various merchandise that Disney has unveiled this week at Shop Disney and Hasbro.
2 left, just 2 more. We have no idea, other than Bill Burr, what is going to happen or who's going to be in them. And he's teaming up with Boba Fett and Fennec Shand, obviously.
And we'll probably get at least better information about this Jedi, right? That may or may not answer the call.
Well, I'm sticking with my prediction from a couple weeks ago that this season's going to end with a tease of Luke Skywalker.
Okay.
I'm sticking with that prediction.
Have you heard my latest wacky prediction?
No.
Are you ready?
Yes.
It's totally insane and completely wrong, but it's still fun. And that is that Grogu isn't his name. What? What you say?
Ooh, that would make my wife very happy.
Here's my theory. My theory is Ahsoka misunderstood. He is a Grogu. See, Yoda would therefore be a Grogu. Yaddle would be a Grogu, but his name will actually start with a Y, because that's what the Grogu do.
Exactly what my wife said. That Grogu sounds like his species name, right? And not his name.
And he's a baby, so he doesn't.
She's still in denial about the name, so it's not too late to change it.
So there's my wacky theory of the week. So,
I like it.
Thank you very much. Okay, well now that I've totally. Oh man, that was fun. I've been waiting to tell you that one for a few days.
All right, give me 1 second though. Don't sign off yet.
Okay, I won't sign off. I think I don't know who I want it to be. I'll be honest. I really, really wish somehow, some way, it could be Leia. Somehow, some way, that it would be Leia who answers the call. I know that Carrie has passed, and so that makes such things particularly odd and challenging. But that would just make my heart soar. That not only was she a Jedi, but that she'll somehow come to play a role in the Grogu's journey. But oh wow, Mike!
I just wanted to show off my slave one. This is not the original from the from 1980. This is the mid 90s
That's so
reissue of the Slave One, the Kenner or Hasbro. I guess it was Kenner at that point, but
that's so cool.
Boba Fett's in there somewhere. But yeah. Oh my God, look how dusty it is. I gotta dust
We
this
can't
off.
we can't tell. Just so you know, we can't tell on the
It's
camera.
got like cobweb. It was on top of my shelf up there.
Oh,
It's
that's
got like
awesome.
cobwebs growing on it, but
I can totally remember how protective my friend Dave was of his Slave One. It was like there were very careful instructions, and he watched with a very uh, careful eye when you're touching the Slave One. Other vessels, the Bespin, what the cloud is it a cloud cruiser? I don't even know what it's called. The
the twin
the
pod cloud
yeah,
car.
that's it. That no big
Yeah.
deal. You could like flip it all over the place, do whatever you want with it. But Slave One, no. That
Yeah.
and the Millennium Falcon, you had to be way more careful when you were anywhere near those. So, but we didn't have any capes. The capes disappeared so fast.
Uh,
There were never any capes. Poor Darth Vader had no cape. He didn't
yeah.
look quite as menacing when we played. But thanks everyone for joining us. Later today on Laughing Place channel here at YouTube, we're going to have in just an hour Disney Parks Talk Live, where we bring you up to date on all the latest news and happenings at the Disney theme parks around the world. And then later today, we're going to have Disney Movie Club. So thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you all real soon. Bye for now.
Bye.